Right now on Upfront.
Bombshell announcement.
It's become very clear who our nominee is going to be.
Once seen as the frontrunner, Mandela Barnes dropping out of the race for governor.
He needs to do what he needs to do.
The explosive announcement in the ever-growing chaotic Democratic primary race for governor. Now the final days, coming off our live primetime debate right here.
But I was never born into the establishment.
What democratic socialism is.
The candidates on stage together.
People don't know me as well as they know some other candidates.
I am proud to have earned by far the most endorsements.
This Sunday, inside the debate, the big moments and inside the spin room moments after.
Questions of whether a democratic socialist could beat Tom Tiffany.
Now the attention turning to the frontrunner.
It's got to be a remarkable confluence of forces.
Francesca Hong widening her lead just 9 days out. The fallout, the full debate recap and new analysis starts now.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Mandela Barnes dropping out of the race for governor Thursday, the latest bombshell in this chaotic Democratic primary for governor, now just 9 days from the primary election. Barnes making the announcement in a social media post, just as the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel says it was reporting on allegations that Barnes was, quote, taking advantage of his role in the party to have sexual encounters with young adult women. Upfront has also learned the state Democratic Party looked into similar accusations last year, but a source familiar with the party says the accusations were anonymous and did not contain any verifiable facts or details.
Barnes, who has not been accused of any crimes, said in a statement to the paper, quote, "I'm a single man and I have dated a lot. Looking back, there are times where I wish I acted with more maturity, but I want to be very clear. I have not, nor am I being accused of any misconduct or wrongdoing," end quote. The dropout came just a day after the latest Marquette poll showed Barnes trailing Francesca Hong by 22 points.
Last night, I had a very difficult conversation with my staff. Now, we're incredibly proud of all the things that we've accomplished and all the resources that we have raised to spread our message. But it's become very clear who our nominee is going to be. Now, I said from the very beginning when I launched this campaign that the number one goal was taking on and defeating Tom Tiffany to deliver big wins for Democrats up and down the ticket. And now it's our time to come together, to focus our efforts on that one goal. We have to do everything to beat Tom Tiffany. This is life or death for Wisconsinites who are losing their health care under a Trump administration, people who can't afford child care, the folks who are being squeezed by bills while the rich continue to get richer. Now, I got this race because we're living in a rigged system. The rich are getting richer while the rest of us are left scrambling for crumbs. I know this firsthand. That's why I've always fought for better, as a legislator, as an organizer, as your lieutenant governor. Now, while I may be suspending this campaign, I'll never give up my fight for Wisconsin. I'm incredibly grateful for all the folks who joined this campaign, for the people who believed in me and this movement, knew that we had a real shot at creating opportunities through bold action to improve quality of life for every single person that calls this place home. Now, we have to do everything we possibly can to defeat Tom Tiffany. And that's exactly what I'm committed to doing for the next 96 days.
We were with Governor Tony Evers Thursday just as the news broke. Evers recently endorsed Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, who re-entered the race after Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez dropped out.
Mandela Barnes dropping out of the race, we just learned. Have you heard that yet?
I heard it about 30 seconds ago. Yeah, surprised, but he needs to do what he needs to do. I don't know why he's getting out. I have to believe it's something relatively important, but at the end of the day, it's his call.
And you continue to support County Executive Crowley?
Of course, he's the best candidate that are running, even if Mandela was in. So, absolutely.
The major shakeup coming just days after our primetime debate. All five candidates at the time on stage. And the attention now this weekend immediately turning to the front runner, Francesca Hong.
But here we go in 3, 2.
And immediately Tuesday night, we were off, questioning the vulnerabilities of the remaining candidates on stage. David Crowley back in the race after dropping out, now backed by Governor Tony Evers.
I like to make decisions based off of the data, based off of facts. And we learned ever since that day that a lot of things have changed and we were going off of false data. And so we know that the stakes are too high this upcoming election. And that's why I got back into this race.
Francesca Hong, the Democratic Socialist, expanding her lead in the polls as the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, receive growing nationwide attention.
Just this weekend, the co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America, which you are a member, reaffirmed the DSA's position of abolishing the Senate, prisons, and replacing the presidency and the Supreme Court as we know it. Do you fully back the DSA platform, and why should primary voters trust your judgment and your ability to win statewide?
I do not support the full platform of the national DSA, and I am not endorsed by DSA National. What democratic socialism is a form of government that puts working class people first, that puts work first.
Joel Brennan and Kelda Roy's on stage, polling in the single digits.
The challenge I have had is that people don't know me as well as they know some other candidates around the state. And so what I have found in recent days is that the disruption, the upheaval, somebody putting their thumb on the scale, it has gotten people much more engaged and much more interested in this race.
Voters need to think about not just who can beat Tom Tiffany, although that is important, not just who can deliver a Democratic legislature, although that is vitally important, but who can actually do the job on day one.
The spotlight this weekend quickly turning to Hong specifically, the clear frontrunner in the polls, and her position on police funding, previous calls to defund the police, and standing alongside protesters in the wake of the most recent Madison police shooting.
You said, quote, "The state-sanctioned violence was an execution." Would you make those immediate declarations as governor, even though an investigation had not yet started?
You know, the governor has the largest microphone in the state, and there comes deep responsibility with that. But what we saw in videos and what I had talked to folks who had witnessed that, I think what we saw, it was clearly the type of violence where no one's life should have been taken. My thoughts are with Corey Ruiz and his family, and I hope that the accountability and transparency that both the Governor Evers and I have called for, the independent investigation, the investment in body cameras. We want local governments to be able to invest in public safety, to be serious about public safety, and I plan to be a partner in that.
The candidates explaining their proposed policies to tax the rich.
Wisconsin already has the second highest top income tax rate in the Midwest at 7.65%. So we want to know what all of you define as rich.
Those who are making the $1,000,001. I think that the billion as well, to increase that to 0.9%. It is incredibly disappointing that some of our lowest income earners are paying a higher tax rate than some of our highest income earners. We need to return to a progressive income tax rate. It is how we build sustainable revenue and ensure that we're able to actually increase our tax base across the state as more working class people are going to be attracted to coming to Wisconsin to live, work, and play here. I think that the legislation that I introduced that would tax the billionaire and add a millionaire tax bracket would lower property taxes by up to 44%, and we could put that funding into special education funding.
And the percentage for those millionaires?
I would increase that by about 1%.
You would increase that to about 8.65.
Correct.
Post-debate, the Hong campaign clarifying, saying she'd increase taxes on the current top bracket by 1% and maintains her $1 million plan to create a new bracket for millionaires and large corporations taxed at 17.7%. During the debate, she conflated two different pieces of her plan, a campaign spokesperson said afterwards. She should have been clearer about that distinction. The other candidates, too, committing to increasing taxes on Wisconsin millionaires.
We need to bring academics. We need to bring labor. We need to bring business owners and community members to the table. And let's actually have a real discussion about the entire system. I don't think that we should be just focusing on how we can increase taxes just particular for certain income earners when we haven't looked at the entire system. When it comes down to those who are making hand over fist, we absolutely need to tax the ultra wealthy, but we need to be smart about how we're doing things long term.
Do you have an income level or a percentage for that?
Well, I think we always got to look at those who are making more than $1 million or more. Absolutely.
I agree with my colleagues that anyone who's earning over $1 million a year should pay a slightly higher tax rate. But we also need to look at the corporate tax giveaways that have run rampant over the last 15 years of Republican rule. We have rolled out the red carpet for Foxconn. The AI data center tax breaks are estimated to cost us $2 billion. All that at a time when we are spending $0 on early childhood education.
You're going to find that I have general agreement that people making over $1 million should pay a little bit more, and we could talk about what that is. So this is not just about how do we raise revenue. It's how do we raise revenue by taxes. It's how do we raise revenue through growth and making sure that we are growing our own and investing in economic development in our state.
The candidates also asked specifically about the state's school voucher program, specifically in the city of Milwaukee, the birthplace of vouchers, where some 30,000 students currently receive a taxpayer-funded voucher to attend private school. So would you sign a bill that eliminated or reduced vouchers in Milwaukee?
To eliminate or reduce vouchers, no, but I don't believe in expanding vouchers in the state of Wisconsin.
So a 3-year-old child, for example, in the city of Milwaukee would not qualify for a voucher under your plan?
Correct, unless they were enrolled in a 3K program or if their sibling was already in one.
Would you sign a bill that reduced vouchers in the city of Milwaukee?
I wouldn't right now, because I think we need to make sure that we are doing right by everybody in the city of Milwaukee.
I think that it's important that we put in the responsibilities of working with our partners to end their program in Milwaukee.
Eventually a full end in the city of Milwaukee.
I believe that that is what bringing a responsible end to the voucher program is, Matt.
Thank you.
Moments after the debate, the candidates in the spin room with our Kendall Keys.
We've heard questions of whether a Democratic Socialist could beat Tom Tiffany. Do you feel that you did enough tonight to prove to Wisconsin voters that you would be able to do that, and why?
It is a power of a movement that we are bringing to the race that on August 12th not only will be in the strongest position to take on Tom Tiffany, and he is the weakest Republican candidate that someone could put forth for governor, and I believe that, we are going to see unprecedented numbers of turnout.
I know you have that endorsement from Governor Evers. We did hear some criticism tonight about that endorsement, saying it was going to be more of the same. What do you say to people who don't want that?
Well, I think that there are a lot of people who are just upset that they weren't able to get, the governor's endorsement. I mean, he has people who have worked directly in his cabinet, and he's watched all of us, right? And I think that his endorsement of me just shows his trust in my character, in my judgment, as an executive here, as a Milwaukee County executive. And so we don't operate in the status quo.
Do you think you stood out enough tonight and maybe disagreed and made yourself or differentiated yourself enough?
I think the things that differentiate me are the depth of detail and policy knowledge of my proposals. I'm not just spouting talking points that some consultant wrote. I've actually put bills forth that are going to help lower the cost of healthcare.
Do you have enough time to gain enough momentum to win this?
Well, I feel like people just started paying attention. Lots of people just started paying attention to this race in the last week, as there have been candidates in and candidates out and people trying to put the thumb on their scale. I think people don't like party insiders trying to determine who wins. And so I think that people are paying more attention now. I feel momentum at my back, and I'm going to keep working and running through the tape.
The winner of the primary will face the likely Republican nominee, Tom Tiffany, a preview of a potential general election matchup. Tiffany saying, quote, "Tonight's debate confirmed that the Democrat primary has become a race to the far left. It is increasingly clear that socialist Francesca Hong, who has called to abolish the police, prisons, and the U.S. Senate, and says returning the surplus to taxpayers is irresponsible, will be the nominee." If you missed the full debate, you can watch it right now on the WISN 12 YouTube page.
Coming to the fallout from Mandela Barnes' announcement in this chaotic primary, what it all means headed into next week. Democratic strategist Joe Zepecki, Marquette Law School poll director Charles Franklin with us next.
Welcome back. 9 days out, another wild week in the Democratic primary race for governor, to put it mildly, and all the post-debate drama still unfolding. Democratic strategist Joe Zepecki is back with us. Joe, a lot to get to, not a lot of time to get to it. Let's start with this bombshell. Mandela Barnes announcing dropping out of the race this past week. What is the conversation in Democratic circles this weekend?
Well, I think this is very clearly now a two-candidate race between Fran Hong and David Crowley. Joel Brennan and Kel DeRoy's are doing a great job, I think, running through the tape. They had very strong debate performances, but I just have not seen them catch fire. And now it is a race between Crowley, can he make up the distance, and catch Hong, who has run a flawless campaign and is in the pole position with just over a week to go.
Yeah, there's been quite a lot of turmoil in this primary race. I mean, how divided are Democrats heading into the primary?
I don't think we have to be divided. That's a choice we're going to have to make in 9 days. Any one of our candidates can beat Tom Tiffany and become the next governor of Wisconsin and bring legislative majorities with them. Democrats need to stay focused on that. Was a little bit of sort of sniping between the candidates in the last week or so. I think that is coming to an end, and now candidates are focused on finishing on their message, talking about what they want to talk about. That's what everybody should be doing, so that we're united on August 12th.
The latest polling has Francesca Hong widening her lead. Has it become increasingly clear that Mandela Barnes just couldn't catch up to that, do you think?
I think that was the calculus for Mandela, who was shown a lot of grace in his race in 2022 when Sarah Godlewski and Alex Lasry saw that there was no path to beating him in the primary. They made the decision to say, we're going to set up our eventual nominee for success. There are certainly echoes of that. I think Mandela saw that there was no path for him to be the nominee, and the best thing he could do is get out of the way so that Fran can run through the tape and be ready on August 12th, or that Crowley and his backers within the establishment can make the argument that they want to. This is now a clear choice between people who want it to be Crowley and people who I would argue and describe as people who want us to do things very differently as a party and a state. That choice is pretty clear right now.
If Francesca Hong wins the primary on August 11th, what does she face immediately on August 12th?
A lot of work to rebuild the party and the apparatus and the machine in her image. She also needs to make the case around the state that this is who I am, this is who I'm fighting for, and she is a working mom. She is fighting for working families. I think she has demonstrated, and she did it on Tuesday night, that she can make that case very compellingly, and she has to carry the message against Tom Tiffany. She was very, very strong in that and in defining Tom Tiffany, that he is not the guy that he has been portrayed as in his TV ads for the last couple of months.
9 days to go in this Democratic primary race. Joseph Pecky, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Up next, Charles Franklin on the new poll.
Welcome back. Following the developments of Mandela Barnes out, another shakeup just a day after the Marquette Law School poll was released, the latest one showing Francesca Hong widening her lead. It was 22 points over Mandela Barnes, David Crowley, Joel Brennan, Kelda Roys, all in single digits, with at the time some 34% of primary voters who said they were still undecided. Charles Franklin is the polls director. He joins us now. Charles, let's just start with these new developments. This primary has become chaotic, and this Mandela Barnes exit makes it even more chaotic.
We need something a little stronger than chaotic. Look, this further enhances Hong's strong lead to begin with, and with Barnes out, it certainly opens the door for the other candidates to pick up his supporters. But time is ticking away, and Hong just looks a little stronger with Barnes out rather than weaker with him out.
Let's talk about that, because you asked the people you polled, who would your second choice be if your first choice wasn't there, I guess. So take Mandela Barnes out. Did his second choice go somewhere dramatic?
It's strong, but maybe not dramatic. 30% of his supporters say Francesca Hong is their second choice. So that enhances her standing. 16% go to Crowley, and 8% to Brennan, and 5% to Roy's. But interestingly, 41% of Barnes's supporters said they didn't have a second choice. So that kind of puts those folks up for grabs, I suppose.
In the moment this poll was taken, I guess, put into perspective where he was. He was long considered the front runner in this race, I guess, before things really eventually heated up. Did his numbers continue to decline, or how would you characterize what his polling has looked like in this race?
He's held pretty steady in the last 2 or 3 polls at about 15 or 16%. A little more if you include people who lean towards him, where he gets up to about 21%. But by contrast, Hong has been in the 30s or in the 40s if you include those who lean. So Barnes had not been picking up a lot of strength in the last few months. Still, he was a distant second place, not a near second place.
We anticipate some more activity from the governor who endorsed David Crowley. Is there any scenario where Crowley can pick up enough momentum now that Mandela is out? I mean, he was just polling at 7% in your new poll.
I think it's a stretch. You never want to say never, especially after the last 3 weeks in this campaign. If you take the Barnes people and allocate them to their second choices, that puts Hong at 43%. So that's less than a majority. If the other 57% all went to one candidate, then yes, she could be beaten. But that's divided among 3 candidates plus don't know and won't vote. That would be an exceptional coalescence around an alternative candidate.
Another week in store. We'll see what it brings. Charles Franklin, director of the Marquette Law School poll. Charles, thank you. Up next, recovery efforts in the Fox Valley.
Before we go, cleanup efforts continue this weekend in the Fox Valley. Governor Tony Evers declaring a state of emergency, major destruction from that EF3 tornado, specifically in Menasha.
I was just trying to get my son safe. I didn't care whether I made it. I just wanted my son okay.
The governor's order ensuring resources, including the National Guard, the state and county continuing to assess the damage.
That is our show today. All of our interviews are posted on the WISN 12 YouTube page. Just find and subscribe to the Upfront playlist.
Thanks so much for your time today. We'll see you right back here next Sunday for Upfront.